Welcome to today's broadcast, a very special report that is not suitable for all audiences. Some of the language that you're about to hear is not appropriate for especially some of the younger individuals that may be listening. We urge caution for anybody who may be easily offended by such material, as we are set to begin reporting today on a very troubling incident that has taken place in Sharp County. This is NEA Report. It's time for a special report once again on NEA Report, as we have obtained the video of the Sharp County traffic stop where alleged police brutality took place. And after reviewing the tape, it is clear that some very disturbing behavior did transpire that evening, and the officers were responsible for much, if not all, of that behavior. At one point in the video we're going to show you coming up, an officer actually covers up his body camera so another can brutally assault the man who is on the ground handcuffed. And when the man is begging for medical care, the police refuse. They tell him not until he shuts up. They don't skip a beat, commenting within seconds of that, saying the man is bleeding badly. One officer chuckling at the bleeding and then bragging to himself in the police car after the entire incident is over that he slammed the man. And he said a lot worse than that. That's all next on NEA Report, the most fearless news outlet in Northeast Arkansas. And we start the news right now. It was November 12th, 2016 that authorities responded to Randall Veazey's home in Ash Flat. The man was heavily intoxicated, and the lawsuit states among the responding officers included officers from Cherokee Village, Ash Flat, and the Sharp County Sheriff's Office. The lawsuit states one of the officers, Josh Trivett, body slammed Veazey while he was in handcuffs. Veazey objects to this behavior after he's already on the ground. This is around the time that the video that we've been able to obtain begins. And when he's objecting to that behavior, he gets beat in the face while the police cover the camera. No, this is not the allegation. This is what we witnessed happening in the video we're going to show you on NEA Report next. You can see the officer take his hand, cover up the camera, as another officer leans in with his steel flashlight, and you begin to hear several hard clicks. In fact, let's just watch this video for the first time together, and then we'll begin to break it all down, and then we'll go into it more.
Good on you, bro. Yeah. I'm trying to get the blood out of my mouth, bro.
You did not listen?
Come on, man.
You got charged?
Listen to this.
You don't listen because
Listen to me. Shut the fuck up.
Come on, man. I got blood.
Yeah, because you wouldn't listen to shut up.
No, you wouldn't tell me what I was arrested
Hey, we don't have a
for.
mask, do we?
Come on, man. Really? A mask?
Yeah, because you won't shut the
Come
fuck
on,
up and
man.
spit.
Come on, man. You done this to me.
I didn't do shit to you.
You did it to yourself.
Oh, so I'm bleeding.
You better look at who you're talking to. This not me.
Come on, man. I'm bleeding for nothing.
Hey, if you'll shut up, we'll
For
get
nothing.
you. Hey, if you'll shut up.
Get him back in the car.
All right?
Shut up, man. Look.
You're playing fucking
Oh, well, you decide.
Yeah, well, you don't spit on people either.
I didn't spit on him.
The hell you didn't. Fuck, he's bleeding bad.
Hold on, dude, we're getting you picked up.
Shit, you know, that bleeds a lot. Gonna get his car. Is he calling your names now?
Man, there's blood all over this fucking seat. I did not want
Blood. There you go. There you go. There you go. There you go.
98 Central, he's 10-4. We're just trying to get him where he can't kick the windows out.
Get him up there, hurry up.
Now, wait a moment, because we're going to stick with this video. We want you to hear what the officer says once he get into his patrol unit.
What the fuck is wrong with people, man?
Not that line. It's the one that's coming up.
Slammed his fucking ass.
Right there is what we're talking about. Did you hear that? Let me play that back for you once again, just in case you missed it.
Slammed his fucking ass.
The officer says, quote, and you're probably not going to like some of the language that we have to get into today, but that's part of this. He said, quote, slammed his fucking ass. That's what the officer says to himself, and that's important because of several reasons, and we're going to get into those right now. Now, we told you as we set the stage for where this took place and when. It was November 12th, 2016 in Ash Flat. The officers have, in the lawsuit, been alleged, specifically Trivet, to have body-slammed VZ. That wasn't shown in the video we have been provided so far. I hope we get some more video in the future. This video is not provided to us by the authorities, I should point out. But this moment that we're talking about was seemingly admitted to on camera in that moment we just showed you. The video that we do have picks up at the time after the allegation of the body slam, before the flashlight incident, which we are telling you took place because you can see it. We're going to detail that very closely and in slow motion here in just a second, actually. Officer Tom Rigsby leans in while holding a flashlight, and he tells him to shut the fuck up. Officer Trivet covers his body camera with his hand, almost as if he's done this before. And I say that because wouldn't you be a little more nervous about doing something like that, you know, obstructing justice and destroying evidence if you didn't know you couldn't get by with it? It's just an observation. It's called logic. We happen to use that around here. Well, the officer covers his body camera up with his hand, and then you hear several loud clicks. That's what the audio is picked up as on the microphone. Those probably sounded more like thuds in person, because that was a steel flashlight banging against the head of the suspect, being swung by a law enforcement officer at an intoxicated man for the act of not stopping talking. He argued too much with Officer Country. And because of that, Officer Country fractured his left nasal bone, caused a midline mandibular fracture, a comminuted, dislocated mandibular head. I don't even know if I said that right, but I had to look that word up. It means destroyed and shattered, if that gives you an idea. Multiple deep lacerations to the man's face and neck and head. And before anybody in chat, because this inevitably happens every time we start to cover police brutality, before somebody says, well, not all cops are bad, I have to ask this question. I've got to ask this. Why did none of the cops in this video that are standing around step in and stop it? Where are they? There are many great police officers, many. I work with some of them on a regular basis. But they never seem to step in these videos when we see the bad ones doing stuff. Ever. Take a look. We're going to look up close to the maglite portion of the video right now.
I'm trying to get the blood out of my mouth,
Listen.
bro.
You did not listen?
Come on, man.
You got charged?
No, you don't listen because
Listen to me. Shut the fuck up.
Come on, man. I got blood.
Now, I just want to point out, I mean, do you think the officer's scratching the camera at this point? Does anybody make that argument in chat? I would love to know who can make the argument that this is an accident.
Listen to me. Shut the fuck up.
Come on, man.
Do you hear that twice? That click? That's what's alleged to have been that steel flashlight destroying the facial bones of a guy who is guilty of getting drunk, right? The heinous act of drinking too much alcohol and not knowing, well, when to shut up. That's part of being drunk, right? We get it. And drunks are annoying. I get it. I'm not saying they're not. But I've never busted their face in with a steel flashlight and then had the entire department help me cover it up. Nobody has. Nobody gets by with this stuff, it seems like, except for one group of people. Who is that?
Yeah,
Yeah, because you wouldn't listen to us. Shut up.
No, you wouldn't tell me what I was arrested
Hey, we don't have a
for.
mask, do we?
He asked for a mask at this point, and I want to point this out because he's asking for a mask because the suspect won't stop talking. Listen, that's the reason he even responds with, and then he makes up something about the suspect spitting at him. Listen, you can actually hear this.
Really? A mask?
Yeah, because you won't shut up the fuck. Spit.
You won't shut the fuck up, he says. And then he pauses and goes, and spit. He doesn't even form a correct sentence, this guy. Probably can't. And he calls the guy for arguing. He says the guy has spit on him, and that's why he wants a mask. I mean, is this really how that we're going to let our justice system play out? We're going to let officers get mad at people and make things up and beat them in the face and say, should have broke the law. I mean, I didn't know being drunk at your own house was breaking the law. If the guy was intoxicated in the public, I could see how that may have happened, and maybe the guy had committed a crime. Maybe the guy was guilty of the most heinous crime, and we don't know what that is. Your officers of the law don't do this stuff.
Good on you, bro. I'm trying to get blood on.
I want you to watch this because we're going to zoom back in on the moment before he leans in with the flashlight. Look at the officer's face. This is tough to see. And I'm going to point out why this is tough to see before anybody says, oh, you can't really see anything in the video. Why are you mad at the officers? You can't see anything in the video because the officer's got the camera on wrong. And I wonder why. It's probably because he's about to break the law. And that's what happened in this. He's got the camera aimed up at the sky. And I want you to take a look at this officer's face. The officer in the middle of the screen. I'm going frame by frame through this. This may be easier if I mute it because it may not put audio over my voice. Take a close look at that officer. Now, I know this is really pixelated, but watch. He looks up, he looks over at someone, and it looks like he grits his teeth before he looks back down at the guy. Listen.
No, you don't listen because
Listen to me. Shut the fuck up.
Come on, man. I got blood.
Yeah, because you won't listen.
So, the guy has blood in his mouth because, yeah, you wouldn't listen to me. That's what Officer Tom Rigsby says. Not going to score very high on his IQ test with logic like that. Sorry, Officer Tom. Looks like you just beat an innocent man in the face on camera. You've lost all the faith that this reporter has and anybody else objective in your community. You can't do this kind of stuff. You can't do this kind of stuff and expect it to be okay. And expect to then still be a police officer. The steel flashlight being swung by a law enforcement officer at an intoxicated man, causing those injuries on the screen. The man begs for medical care as he's bleeding profusely, enough to the degree that you actually hear Officer Trivett comment about him bleeding. He says, quote, fuck, he's bleeding bad. But he doesn't say it like that. He goes, he's bleeding bad. He thought it was funny. Yeah. You want to hear it? Listen.
Fuck, he's bleeding bad.
Oh, is he?
Fuck, he's bleeding bad.
I mean, this is funny to these guys, right? Because nobody ever holds their feet to the fire. Their bosses clearly don't. And so one of the officers, as I mentioned just a second ago, actually is seen fabricating a story about the man spitting on him because the guy wouldn't, quote, well, you know, STFU. I don't like saying those things, by the way. But I also don't like censoring myself because somebody's offended by bad language. Oh, if you're not offended by police brutality, you don't get to be offended in this. That's the thing to be offended by. If you want to be offended by the officers using the word, then that's what you get to be offended by, not the reporter. I hate having to include these words, but I'm not censoring the bad behavior of police so that it looks nicer to the public. I didn't do that in Walnut Ridge, and we're not doing it in Sharp County either. So by the officer's own words, the guy is bleeding bad at this point. And the officer, along with several others, are just standing around. Some of them laughing at this on camera, thinking it's funny. So the guy's laying there in a pool of his own blood, and these officers who probably don't know what the word empathy means and most certainly never utilized it, at least in their professional careers, are then begged by this guy, please, I need medical care. So he's drunk. I'm going to guess just about everybody watching this that might even think of that as a justification for the officer's behavior. It's not. We probably all have been. So what happens when he asks for help? What happens when he asks the public servants for medical care? This is what happens. It's refused. They tell him, if you shut up, we'll get you medical care. Not until you shut up. But once you stop talking and arguing with our behavior, which seems to be unquestionable, then we'll take care of you.
Come on, man. I bleed for nothing.
Hey, if you'll shut up, we'll get you. Hey, if you'll shut up.
Get him back in the car.
See, this officer on camera, me being right in the car, that officer screams so loud you can almost not hear what's going on there. But listen, and look, this officer tells him, if you shut up, we'll get you some help.
Come on, man. I bleed for nothing.
Hey, if you'll shut up, we'll get you. Hey, if you'll shut up.
Get him back in the car.
You know, the problem is the most reasonable thing the officer can come up with to say is, hey, hey. And he says that like 12 times. Hey. You know, shutting up is not a prerequisite. Liking someone is not a prerequisite for helping them and doing your job and following the law. And what some folks seem to have forgotten is that the law also applies to people that wear the badge, not just the people that don't wear the badge, right? For instance, professional courtesy, letting your buddies out of a ticket because they sped while you give a ticket to the guy that doesn't wear a badge, that's not cool. I mean, you do that all the time, we know that, but that's not cool. But the problem is, this goes much further beyond a little speeding ticket. This is a guy having his face crushed by a steel flashlight. A guy that was allegedly, because we haven't seen this part on camera, but there is some damning evidence that we're going to play next, allegedly body slammed while in handcuffs. No, once you handcuff somebody, you don't get to slam them. If you don't have the manhood to be able to control somebody, especially in handcuffs, and even without them, then you shouldn't be wearing that uniform, guys. This is coming from somebody that, although it's a low rank, does actually have a small rank in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Yeah, it's a little hard to learn, but guess what? Once you go through the time and you get beat up a few times in the class, you learn how to control people without breaking their face with a flashlight or having to body slam them while they're handcuffed. And that's an actual word, body slam. That's the actual quote used from the lawsuit. I don't know if it's like we're talking WWE body slam, if we're talking like a belly-to-belly kind of style side slam. I don't know. But the officer who's alleged to have done this, I have to mention the allegation, because the officer is caught on camera bragging about doing it. Even though we don't have camera footage of him doing it yet, evidently, he was pretty proud of himself. Listen.
Slammed his fucking ass.
Oh, really? What was that? Let's listen to that part again.
Slammed his fucking ass.
The officer says, bragging to himself in his car, slammed his fucking ass. This is unacceptable behavior, and I can't explain that to people that don't see it instinctively by looking at it. This is, I think it's Police Appreciation Week, and I appreciate the officers who do so much good work and constantly battle against this type of stigma. Because this incident is what creates the negative stigma that many officers dedicate their whole career to combating. these public outreach officers, for instance, that many departments, especially like Jonesboro and others that they have, they exist to try to make the public, the community, the non-badge-wearing portion of the population trust the badge-wearing portion of the population. But that doesn't work when we look on video and we see an officer cover up his camera and another officer lean in with a heavy flashlight and start just destroying the guy. That's not how this works. And the people that call this crap out are not the bad ones. If you think you're doing something brave by defending the guys that wear guns and the girls that wear guns, there are no girls in this doing that. The people that have authority and that get by with whatever they want, you're not being brave. That would be like somebody standing up against the Nazi government and then somebody being brave by standing up for Nazis and saying, those fascists, they're just doing their job. This is fascism, what we just saw happen. When you have authority armed with no answer to any type of consequence, capable of breaking the law on camera and covering it up, systemically covering it up, camera aimed at the sky, hand over the camera, bragging about it to yourself, making up charges on the guy, making up accusations about the guy spitting in your face. That is fascism. This stuff doesn't just open the door up and boom, one day you live under a dictatorship. It creeps its way in, little by little by little. And when you don't stand up for your rights, then they take a little bit more. What else can we get by? Oh, we're under attack. No, I don't think you are. I think you're being held to a standard. The one that we've been held to as members of society all this time, all these years. I think that same standard's applying to police now. And a lot of police think they're under attack because of that. And you're not. There are people that are unfairly against police. But the way I see things, which is all based on reality and logic and analyzation of details with objective mindset, what you're oftentimes seeing are really just bad behaviors being called out. And the bogus bull that it's not a larger problem than one or two people being called out. How many more cases of a handful of officers standing around a bloodied guy, or an entire department from the police chief to the deputy prosecutor, Ryan Cooper, to anyone else, all the way up participating in the completely unethical cover-up? How many more cases of that do we need to see before we say maybe this is a larger problem than one or two bad apples? Maybe there's a couple of bad orchards. Maybe there needs to be a better system in place for the good police to report the bad police. Because right now, that seems to be very hard to do. And I know for certain, police, the good ones, which are basically all the ones I know. I don't know police that act like this, personally. I don't. The police I know hate this stuff. They see it and they hate it because they know it makes their job harder. And they know these guys are not representative of what is going on day to day with most officers. But they have to battle this stuff. They have to battle the negative stigma from incidences like this. And that black you're looking at right there is an officer's hand over the camera. It's funny. An image that shows nothing tells us everything. Something's got to change, folks, and it's not the reporting on this stuff.
Haley Norris, realtor. No. Should I make my hair go like this? Whether you need to buy, sell, or lease. Haley, can I use my hands? Or is that, where are my hands? Where do they go?
Just
Haley.
Just say Haley.
Whether you need my expertise. Haley Norris, realtor. Or even do a commercial lease. Haley Norris, realtor. Should I say Remax Real Estate Center or no? Is that too salesy?
No, that's good.
My average days on market is just 50 days. You need my expertise. And that means I'm putting more money back in your pocket.
What a great day it is in Craighead County. You know, we got a very important election coming up, May 22nd. You'll get to choose your new judge. I hope and pray that you look at the issues at hand. This is a very, very important election. This will be the first 4-year term for your county judge. We're facing many, many issues, from school safety to road safety to drainage. We have plans in place. I'm coming in with a strong team of people with boots on the ground. We're going to make this a better Craighead County. We're going to be open and transparent. This is your office. It's always going to be an open door policy. And you know, I'm happy to announce I've got a team of volunteers. It's going to be called the Craighead County Green Team. We're going to clean up the ditches and roadways in Craighead County. With the resources that we have on hand, you're not going to see illegal dump sites and things like that. We're going to be proactive. We're going to make this a better Craighead County. My name is Jeff Presley, and I approve this message.
Specializing in unloading contents and packet moves, fully insured and licensed, The Moving Company is the only company to call for your next move. The Moving Company's award-winning team will quickly, safely, and efficiently move your belongings where you need them, whether it's across town or across the country. The Moving Company. Equipped with 2 full-size moving trucks and all the supplies and tools for any move, The Moving Company is prepared for the toughest jobs to the most gentle. To book your next move, give us a call at 882-2842 or send us a message to our Facebook page by searching The Moving Company.
Let's take a look at some of the news that's topping the headlines today across NEA. And the woman who was arrested on suspicion of theft of $25,000 or more back in May from the Bono Fire Protection District account, the volunteer treasurer, well, it's now being said that she's believed to have stolen almost $250,000 over an 8-year period. $244,878.67 are alleged to have been stolen by former volunteer treasurer Glenn McGinnis, who also worked for animal control in Jonesboro under the Jonesboro Police Department. It's going in an investigative report, according to Sheriff Marty Boyd, whom I spoke with this afternoon. He said that this will be passed over to 2nd Judicial District Prosecutor Scott Ellington's office, but an independent investigation may actually change that number. It could make it go up or down a little bit, but what an astonishing number. Almost $250,000 alleged to have been taken over an 8-year period. A terrifying incident out of Poinsett County today where a woman was reportedly shot in a botched home invasion this morning in Truman. It was reported at the 400 block of Arrowhead Road. As of about noon, the victim was out of surgery, thankfully in stable condition, but the suspect still on the loose. Described as possibly being a white male with a ski mask wearing a gray shirt. I spoke with Chief of Police Chad Henson, who told me that, quote, we're currently interviewing neighbors and waiting to interview the victim and family. That was around 1 p.m. He may have talked to them by now or may still be trying to. Of course, with the victim having been airlifted to the Med in Memphis and family going over there too, it made things a little bit more challenging. If you have any information which may be able to assist, please contact Truman Police or your local law enforcement agency. A terrifying situation unfolding in the early morning hours in Truman. Time now for a look at your New Wave Wireless weather forecast. It's home of the $49 iPhone screen repair, plus me having mixed minus in my ear. There we go, that's fixed. And tonight we are expecting a chance for showers and thunderstorms to pop up. Well, in fact, let's take a look at the live radar right now before I tell you the 5-day, because there actually are a few showers and thunderstorms across northeast Arkansas. South of Jonesboro, seeing a few showers there. Seeing a few in Poinsett County and in the northwest corner of Lawrence County. We're seeing a few. Let's do a zoom in up there there and see what it's looking like and where those showers have popped up. Maybe a few strong showers that have actually popped up a little bit, well, right around Imboden right now, and a little bit to the southwest of there too. You do have a slight chance for showers and thunderstorms tonight, 30% shot at those, but that mainly is before 7 p.m. Otherwise, a patchy fog after 1 a.m. and partly cloudy skies with a low down to 66. 20% chance of thunderstorms tomorrow, and that's in the afternoon, with mostly cloudy skies, otherwise a high near 90. 30% shot at thunderstorms tomorrow, rather on Sunday, excuse me, and that's why we've got the little thunderstorm cloud right there. It's lingering around this weekend, but you should get to enjoy, for the most part, 2 mostly sunny days for your Saturday and Sunday. Now, that is going to change as Sunday night rolls around, and especially as Monday happens, because Monday, 50% shot at thunderstorms, the same on Tuesday, the same on Wednesday, the same on Thursday. I am sorry to tell you the bad news, folks, but thunderstorms are on the way for the rest of the stinking week. Well, for the rest of next week, at least. The rest of this week, we have a slight chance. But yes, next week, if you've got plans and they're outside, make sure to take into account that you got thunderstorm chances almost every day. Again, that's next week. What's it doing right now? It looks like it's overcast skies, about 80 degrees in Jonesboro. Like I said, that's what the radar looks like. That opacity doesn't show up as much. There we go. Let's try that. So you can see where the storms and showers and whatnot are across the area. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. Thank you very much for joining us. Thank you on NEA Report. We're glad to have you in with us. We hope you will subscribe to us on the YouTube. We are able to upload our show every single day on YouTube as soon as it ends in high definition. You can also find us on Facebook, and we're on Twitter too, at NEA News. I am Stan Morris, and I just realized that I didn't have the graphic on the screen the entire time that I was talking about social media. But that's okay, because I think you guys get the picture by now. And now you're up to date on NEA Report. It's 3:31, and we'll be back if breaking news breaks out. In the meantime, we hope that doesn't happen, and we hope that you guys and girls all have a very nice and calm weekend. Thanks, everybody. Take care.